This episode was chock full of near misses, coincidences, and unfortunate circumstances. Let's go. Outlander Season 4, Episode 8, Wilmington. Hey guys, it's Marsha, and welcome to Really Seriously For Real. Since this is the last episode review video before Christmas, I had planned on doing a quick cutesy Marsha type of season greetings, but then my honey said, isn't Brianna supposed to cross paths with Bonnet? Maybe you should watch the episode first. So instead of the cutesy crazy Marsha type holiday greeting, let me instead wish you all a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. Now let's get into this. We start out with Roger in 1769 searching for Brianna in Wilmington. He stops at the Wilmington Gazette, the newspaper that published the obituary that sent Brianna searching for her parents in the first place. While there, Fergus comes out of the shop and we learn that he works there. Roger shows him a picture of Brianna and asks if he's seen her, which he has not. I love these type of coincidences where you as a viewer are like, oh my God, that's Fergus. Roger, if you only knew, follow that man. I mean, I guess he can't very well say, hey, I'm looking for this woman, daughter to Claire and Jamie Fraser, to everyone he meets, although that really would have made things much easier. Anywho, if Roger had stalked Fergus, he would have followed him home to his wife, Marselie, and baby. And then the added bonus of Mr. and Mrs. James Fraser. So close! They were in town due to an invitation to the theater by Governor Tryon. Tryon wanted the opportunity to introduce Jamie to his right-hand man, Edmund Fanning. I know I wasn't the only one distracted during this scene. I was like, oh wow! Even from the coming attractions, you know that Brianna is in town. Even though we didn't get up to that part yet, you still know she's there. And the whole time, I'm like, Claire, Brianna is so close right now. And how about when Marselie was telling Claire how she loves her son so much that she could never imagine any harm to come to him? And Claire agrees that that's the hardest thing about being a parent. You can't protect them from everything. But Claire, of course, says this hiding the fact that she knows exactly how Marselie feels because she has a child that she left behind. Oh, Outlander. And how about that irony with Claire and the knife, cutting the bread and chatting with young Marselie? Reminds you of anything? Nice touch. Talk about a role reversal. I didn't even spot that. My honey Francois noticed that immediately. I'm like, dang, who's the fan here? Back to Roger. So he's in a tavern of sorts in town, seemingly about to give up all hope of ever finding Brianna, and starts to leave until he hears her voice. Man! When they turned around and saw each other, I was so happy for them. It was like episode 4, The False Bride never happened. I was really happy and in love with the fact that they found each other. That is, until Roger is pulling, and yanking Brianna around. When Lizzie is peeping out the window seeing that, yeah, I would be concerned for my mistress. I guess this is just going to be another 50-50 debate on etiquette. Or maybe for me, it just won't be a debate. I'm sorry. It's very hard to root for rude. I mean, think about most of the couples in Outlander. Claire and Jamie. Yes, the episode where Jamie had to spank Claire was not cool. And yet it was funny because Jamie didn't want to do it, but had to as her husband after she nearly got everyone killed trying to save her from Blackjack Randall. And let me add, because Jamie told her to stay put, but she ran off anyway towards the stones and got caught by English troops. Very good episode. Season 1, just saying. Though Claire asserted herself as someone not to disrespect, and Jamie vowed never to raise a hand to her again. Fergus and Marselie, they're sweet together, though we don't get to see much of their relationship. And Claire and Frank, I need to specify on the show before y'all get me, but that first season, you always saw Frank treat Claire respectfully and was always somewhat attentive to her when he wasn't more attentive to his historical research. I mean, we don't have to go through everyone, but I truly can't 100% be team Brianna. or Roger, because he gets angry too easily. But Brianna says she loves Roger, and after he takes her to some random building down the street, where I suppose no one will seemingly go to, she pumps the brakes on Roger's advances like, "You sure you want to do this? I mean, didn't you want to be married first? Dying! Touche, Brianna." And Roger's like, "Oh yeah, that's right, my morals." And then he's like, "Oh wait, there just so happens to be a Scottish wedding custom that I just so happen to know. It's called hand fasting." Brianna's like, "I'll let this one slide. Let's do it. And then let's do it." Ignore me, I've had too much eggnog. But in all seriousness, it was a sweet moment where they stated vows to each other, even though I thought there needed to be at least a witness. Like, "Hey, Brianna, maybe you should go grab poor Lizzie so she knows that you're all right." I mean, who does that? She just left her without another thought. I mean, true, this guy just trekked across 200 years to find you, which that was another clever line from Brianna to solidify her love for Roger. But yeah, she really should have told Lizzie where she was. And Lizzie is left alone in some tavern, which later we confirm is not even close to being safe. Look, whether I look at this through 2018 eyes, 1970s eyes, or 1770s eyes, it's still silly. But Brianna and Roger complete their vows, and then, say it with me, sexy time. The next generation. Yes, the wild and wicked, naughty but nice torch has been passed to young Roger and Brianna, experiencing her first time. Yes, it was too hot for my TV and certainly for this review, but it gave us the extended version. And no, I didn't actually mean that as a pun. Of the old school sexy time that we remember from Claire and Jamie. That is, until Brianna found out that Roger knew about her parents' death in the fire before she did, and they got into yet another freight train of a fight. Roger even goes down the "remember your last words to your father" route. Really? Seriously? For real, guys? If you watch the behind the scenes after the show, the producers are talking about how they had a tough time in the writer's room trying to legitimize the reason for Roger leaving Brianna. And quite frankly, I can see why the producers had a tough time. I'm sorry. These kids are frustrating. And that's probably all I can really say. Frustrating. As in totally immature teenage shenanigans. And I know they're not teenagers, which is even more sad. The characters simply allowed themselves to turn a beautiful moment into an ugly departure once more. So again, I just can't root for them as a couple because I really don't like them as a couple at all. They need more time to marinate. So let's go to a real couple. Claire and Jamie are dressed in their best at the theater. They're introduced to Governor Tryon's right-hand man, who was complaining about awful pains near his stomach, which Claire wants to examine, though Tryon waves off her healer skills as she's just a woman. Leave the diagnoses and surgery to a real doctor, and then downgrades her to chat with the women's club. You know, Governor Tryon is really trying me. By the way, anyone else getting Jane Austen vibes here? Through conversation, however, Claire finds out she's in the room with none other than George Washington himself. Lucy from Timeless would be so proud. Claire and Jamie are introduced to Washington. During their conversation, Washington mentions his youth spent in Virginia, which prompts Claire to blurt out, "cutting down cherry trees," which plays, of course, to the famous poem about his youth. That isn't actually true. Washington and everyone else stares at her perplexed. The writer's room was really working overtime to cram that joke in. So now they're in the theater about to watch the play, and Tryon tells Jamie about a little sting operation they set up for Murtaugh and the regulators. Tryon has a mole in Murtaugh's ranks, and they're about to take them down in the woods that night. So Jamie needs a way to get out of the theater to warn Murtaugh. So he elbows poor Fanning, who was already in pain, forcing him into a surgical emergency. Aw, Jamie, that was so wrong and so right at the same time. Claire gets to save the man's life. Fanning gets to live, and Jamie gets to warn Murtaugh. Though honestly, I was nervous that this was also a setup to test Jamie's loyalty to Tryon. If they know about Murtaugh, isn't it possible that they know about Jamie too? Jamie and Ian did go to a regulator meeting. Jamie sneaks out of the theater but runs into Washington, who's leaving early and offers to ride Jamie into town. Back to the surgery. Though initially resistant, Tryon allows Claire to get her doctor groove on. I love it when she starts delegating. You get the needle and thread. You get a bunch of cloth. You get a bunch of men to hold the patient down. She tells Tryon to say comforting words to Fanning, and he starts saying, "I'm going to build you the biggest house you've ever seen." I'm like, aw, that's touching in a rich sort of way. And then I was dying when the surgery was over and Tryon wanted to make sure Fanning didn't actually hear all that. That was great. When the so-called real doctor showed up, even he was eventually impressed with Claire's work, though considering the fact that he thought all the patient needed was to blow smoke up his butt. But those were the 1700s after all. Jamie makes it back to the theater and we find out he sent Fergus to warn Murtaugh just in time. Fantastic. Another reunion. He was like, "Fergus, is that you?" So cool. But later, after learning his plan was thwarted, Tryon suspects that someone tipped off Murtaugh and the regulators. Another man singles out poor Washington as having left early. Oh boy. I sure hope the Frasers haven't screwed up the timeline. They better sort this out. Don't mess with Washington now. But back to Brianna, who is returning to the tavern. She walks in and Bonnet is at the table playing a card game. As she passes near him, he pulls her over to the table and asks her to blow on his ring for luck. Yep, the ring I totally didn't see last episode on his finger. But she takes it and examines it closer, asking where he got it and identifying it as her mother's ring. All right, the next part is tricky because it's very easy to say, why did she or why didn't she, or she should have done this or should have done that. But let's face it, that's a slippery slope because if you're in a compromising situation, there are always better choices to make. But the fact of the matter is that she made the wrong decision. So it's a moot point. Bonnet, lured her into another room. And before Brianna realized what was happening, it was too late. He hit her to the ground, tossed her things out the room, slammed the door, and raped her, as the entire establishment continued about their evening without another thought. Some men smirked. One man walked right over Brianna's shoes that were tossed in the hallway by Bonnet, though he carefully moved them out the way. It was a horrendous scene, even though you never saw anything. You only heard her screams. And it takes you back to Claire talking with Marselie earlier, telling her that you do your best, but you can't protect your child from everything. Just as Jamie was willing to risk everything to warn Murtaugh that night, imagine if he knew what his little girl was up against. It was heartbreaking and scary and brutal, but I think as a show, they did it as tastefully as they could do it. Like, I don't know what you could really say about it. Yes, there were so many mistakes made. Like, I wish Brianna didn't confront Bonnet about the ring. If your mom, who can actually handle herself, got it taken away, then maybe you don't want to go near this guy. Just keep walking. But again, it's a moot point. She got caught in his web and he violated her. Jeez, this is the episode they aired before Christmas? Boo! Nah, but it was actually a good episode. I love knowing that everyone was in Wilmington, but no one knew that a fresh batch of stone-traveling newbies were there. Brianna and Roger, yeah, sorry, I am just not on their team. Their dynamic doesn't work for me. Maybe it's the writing or the acting, but they don't come across as a couple I want to root for. Not on the show. Apparently they were written better in the books, so that's something to look forward to. But as a show watcher, thumbs down. As for Bonnet, last week Ed Spieler's portrayal of Bonnet came across as forced, almost laughable to me. I don't know how to explain it, but I didn't like it. This week, however, though brief, Spielers hits us with the delivery of Bonnet's twisted personality that was clear and frightening. It was an awful scene, but Spielers showed me I was wrong to doubt him as the bad guy. Question of the day. Who handled their first time travel better, Claire or Brianna? Because honestly, they both made mistakes, but comment down below. So guys, have a beautiful, blessed, and safe holiday season with family, friends, and good cheer from my family to yours. Thanks for watching. Until next time.